Hey, welcome to Positive Partners. Here again, July.
That happened quickly, didn't it?
Yeah. So this is going to be the third part of our series of becoming a good team as a dog and trainer team. Right?
Right. It's a relationship, you know, like that picture, like the pictures of the dogs that you have there in the rescue. Their eyes. There's an alive, emotional creature there, and like that picture with the dog paw in the hand. That was my dog, and Bo and his paw in my hand. But it's a connection. It goes beyond the mechanical. It goes beyond what's you know,
soldier and order.
Right. It's not. You have to have some order. You can't have a chaotic situation, but it's not all laying down the law. But predictability helps have that bond. You know, if it's one of the deals with. And this is our third installment in having a dog trainer team. How to do that. Predictability is a good part of that. I mean, if you're going to make mistakes, make them predictably. Your dog will be able to figure it out. If you're all over the place, it's one thing one day and another thing another day, and next week it's something else, and somebody else has another way of doing it. The dog's going to be, you know, if it could, scratching its head.
Yeah. If this is your process, stick to it unless it's abusive.
Yeah. Right.
And find something else to do. But
yeah,
we'll
give you some tips
positive reinforcements.
And they get you so far. I mean, this is the kind of approach that's used in zoos with rhinoceroses and hyenas and all that kind of stuff. You know, if you want to get a kangaroo to do something, this is the way to go about that. So this part is here, how to get and keep the behaviors you want between you and your dog, because all those situations, unless if you're on the scene, that's what's going on, is between you and your dog. Okay. So we'll start in day-to-day life, because that's where everything happens there.
Yeah, you're living with your dog, and you know there's certain things you want from them, whether staying here or I don't know. There's just different things that happen during the day, whether you want them to sit next to you at the dinner table or go to another room and lay down, or it depends on how you want to run your life.
And however you run it, right?
Whether you feed your dog at the table or you don't.
Yeah.
They're both okay to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just if you have some consistency in where you're going with it, and we're training all the time. We're never not training. And so in day-to-day life, chances are almost definite that our dogs are going to be doing things that we want them to do and that we would like them the next time they're in a situation to do that very same thing again. And when we see that and make that work for that dog, that's called capturing a behavior. We didn't have to train it. We had to train ourselves to notice when the dog's doing something that we want, and that's a big deal, because where we usually start as human beings, and we are all by nature lazy, at least not we work when we have to, and when we work when we're motivated, and unless
like when I was training Ulrich to shake, when he gets nervous, he'll put his paw out. So, okay, I'll make him do that.
You had a behavior there he was giving you.
Right.
For another reason.
If he does that, if I can make him do it, then I treat him. It's like, okay, good. And then I connected it with the word shake.
Right.
Shake, and then he does it. Hey, there's your treat. And then that was like the easiest thing to teach him.
And that's a capture.
Right.
That's a capture. And we'll go right to the point that you talked about how you put a word to the behavior.
Okay.
Now, our usual starting place is that we are in reaction mode. Most people who are having problems with their dog's behavior have been in reaction mode. The dog does what they'll normal. Typically, they'll say, "My dog, keeps barking. My dog keeps rushing toward the door. My dog bugs me at the dinner table. My dog, pulls on a leash, what do you want the dog to do? I want the dog to stop doing such and such.
Right.
Well, that's not a training goal. Stopping doing, barking, stopping, jumping up, stopping pulling is something that a dead dog can do. If your training goal is something that can be accomplished by a dead dog, stop barking, stop jumping, stop nibbling,
Maybe you should have got a stuffed animal.
Well,
I don't know.
It's not a training dog it's not a training goal if a dead dog can do it. What you have to do is switch around your thinking. So you think about, what is it I want my dog to be doing in this situation? And that's when you're really actually trying to change a behavior. But
I've heard another person say also that, okay, my dog does all these bad things. Well, let's train them to be obedient and do the sit and stay and the come and all these things like real good. So when it comes to those situations, they will listen to you so well that it takes all those bad reactions out.
Yeah,
because you're
right.
replacing the time that they spent doing these bad things
exactly.
with what you want them to do.
Right.
It's not necessarily attacking that behavior head on.
Right.
But it's a replacement.
Right. Rather than trying to suppress, you say, okay, let's replace, let's increase. And in capturing, like you mentioned, a handshake, or capturing something like being calm before going out of a door and so forth, we want to have in our minds, what is it we're looking for? And when the dog does that, we want to have that already put in the back of our minds, so we go, oh, I like that, and then make that pay for that dog. Now, the easiest way to make that pay is to have a treat reward. When you're starting training, have some treats. Put them in, put them in a little convenient to carry. That's a little treat bag right there, made out of duct tape and a sandwich bag. Mm-hmm. It costs nothing. If you want to buy one, you can get one for about $8, $10, $12, whatever.
Right.
Anyhow, so have some treats on you, or have some available someplace. Dog does something, you're just starting out, you want to tell the dog what works. So the dog is sitting quietly at the supper table, lying down, then you've got one of their little treats or something like that, and you toss that over to where they are. Mm-hmm. And the only place they get treats is when they're lying down. Okay. Or when they are sitting calmly while you get the leash, then, good. You communicate with your voice, with your feelings. You give them a treat, and...
the only thing that can be complicating with throw the treat at them when they're in the other room is if you have multiple dogs.
Well, that's
everybody
that's another thing. When you have multiple dogs, you train them individually first.
That's difficult to do sometimes, but yeah.
The only way to if they're in a pile-in situation, you have to manage it one way or the other. I mean, and another part of what you want to do as far as capturing is if a dog is doing something like rushing outside the door, then you want to capture being calm at the door, capture being calm when you're going to get the leash. If the dog starts getting wound up, then put the leash back.
Wait a minute, I thought we was going for a walk.
Yeah, right. Well, we was. We was. And then you got all excited. So now we're sitting here for a while. And go back and read something for a couple minutes. Then go pick up the leash again. If then the dog is settled, then tell the dog that's working. Say, yes, good boy, good girl, and then get that behavior to continue. So take away the rewards for the behavior you don't want, provide rewards, and communicate in a clear way, and using a marker word like yes followed by a reward works. That makes it really easy for the dog to understand. So it might be in your day-to-day life, your reward is yes and affection, or it might be, good dog or something like that. You communicate. They're going to they register off how we're feeling anyway. or that their reward ultimately is they get to go outside. You know, stay, stay, good, good, yes. You know, there's a treat, stay, good, open the door. If they, you know, move up toward it, close the door, stay, open the door a little bit more, they stay there, good. Open the door a little bit more, they stay, good. Keep them focused on that behavior. They know that's the behavior that's winning, and then they've stayed there and they're sitting, and you have the door open. Let's say you have a fenced yard, and then you say, hey, you're free to go on. And that's capturing a behavior. You can capture calmness, you can capture them keeping their feet on the floor when they come up to greet you. So, you know, the whole point of them rushing up is, well, one thing, if a dog greets too vigorously, then what you might do is, if they're running up, then, you know, hey, nice to see you, good boy, you know, and toss a treat on the floor to break their, you know, forward momentum. Then they're going to get the treat, and then you say, come here, and give them your hand to target. Good boy, scratch them on the chest or under the throat, that sort of thing, you know, and then say, good, sit, you know, and then reward that. So what you're doing is you're capturing, you're getting the behavior the dog offers you, with, instead of, you know, instead of giving attention and doing something ineffective like repeatedly saying, you know, get down, get down, get down, which doesn't work.
No, that's one of the benefits of using a clicker. Sometimes these actions that they do don't last very long.
Right.
And so, you know, by the time you have reached in your pocket and grabbed whatever it was that you were going to give them as a treat, now they're on to something else.
Right.
And whenever you have a clicker, that's like an
instantaneous
reward. Click, hey,
yeah.
whatever I did got that click, so that's cool.
And that click means something good's going to happen, whether it's like, you know, Dad's going to get the leash and put the leash on me, or I'm going to get to go out the door, or I'm going to get scratched, or, you know, I'm going to get a treat or something like that. We want to vary those rewards in our day-to-day lives. Now, you brought up a really good point about how do we put a name to what we've captured. So the dog sits, and that's one of the things we want to get as a default, is for the dog to understand when you don't know what else to do, try sitting. That's almost always going to be okay. So, you know, we can see the dog's going to sit because you see, you know, movement in their, I can't twist my arm right, but anyway, you'll see movement in their haunches. Yeah, I guess it would be like this. Their leg is going to bend down, and when you see that that knee joint bending, and they're starting to put their seat toward the floor, you know, you go, yes, good dog, and then have them, you know, do that a little bit more, on my way to doing something right. You know, this kind of putting your weight down, that kind of thing. And as they're doing that, then, and you can tell, you would bet $5–10 they're going to sit, right? So you put a name to it when you can tell, and you would bet money that they're going to sit. So as they start that motion, then, like you said, you'd say shake if they're extending their paw, or you say sit, you know.
And a lot of these things don't take, but, you know, I could do a sit, a down, or a shake, and depending on the dog, you know, between a half an hour to 2 hours in one evening, and that's it pretty much, and they've got it.
Yeah.
And then you just reinforce it over the next weeks or days, and then it's solid.
And then, as you say, that's how you do, is you keep it going by making that continue to work for the dog. Now, it doesn't have to work every single time. It's a little bit like playing a slot machine. You stay at that slot machine because you know you got to keep, you know, maybe you have to pull that handle. So the dog might learn, okay, it gives this behavior, good, you know, gives some other behavior, good, some other behavior, good, you know, thank you, and they know that's an approval tone, and then they do something else, yes, here we go, let's go outside, you know, and so, yeah, let's go outside, but you make sure that that behavior pays off. So you mentioned about getting a sit and a down and all that sort of stuff. That moves us right to the next way of getting behaviors.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get to that right after this.
Great. Good job. Okay. Next way of getting behavior is what we're used to. You take a treat in your hand and you lure the dog. So it's very easy to get a dog to sit with a treat in your hand if the dog's calm enough to be paying attention. If the dog's not calm enough to be paying attention, you just settle the dog down, and then when the dog's settled, then you start back in. So you put the treat up toward the dog's nose, you have the dog extend its neck a little bit, and then you move the treat, up a little bit, and the dog brings its head up, and its seat goes down, and there you've got a sit.
Now, the only problem I've had with doing sits or other things like that is doing it at a distance.
Distance is a whole nother thing. Every behavior, every behavior that you do, first you get the behavior, and then you add duration. How long does the dog give that behavior? Then you add distractions. Can the dog give that behavior when a toy that it likes is next to it or close by, or another dog is in the vicinity? And the way you deal with distractions is how distracting or engaging is that particular thing, and what distance is it at. So if the dog's not able to give you the behavior you want because something's too distracting, you should either take that distraction and put it at a greater distance, which makes it manageable for the dog, put it at a distance where it is manageable for the dog. Basically, if a dog can't respond to cues that it knows, then there's too much distraction going on, and you need to get the distraction back, or you need to get the dog, move the dog away from the distraction.
I would practice that on walks. If we go past a house where there's a dog in the yard that's barking and they want to bark back and add to the excitement, it's like, okay, stop, sit. And make them sit at those times that they want to do something else.
Yeah, and you would have them sit at, not next to the fence, but 10 feet away, 20 feet away, 50 feet away, whatever it takes. Wherever that dog's successful, and you move them back. So that's an element of distance. And then there's another aspect of distance, and that is the distance between you and the dog.
Right. Like he's in the field, and I say, okay, sit.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
Because I've trained that, here's the treat, you sit, I give you the treat. He knows he's not going to get a treat way over there, so he runs to me.
Yeah, actually, and what I taught him is, hey, sit there, stay, I bring the treat to him. So you want to reward the dog in the position that you want the dog to be in. So you reward as the behavior's happening, and you provide the reward, you deliver the reward in the position you want the dog to be in. So that's luring, and if you want the dog to down, then you take the treat and then you sort of push it. The dog's in a sit, you sort of push it into the dog, and the dog then comes down with its front legs. If you want to bring the dog up to a stand position from a down, you just bring the treat up at the same angle at which you put the dog, into the down. Anyway, that's if you look at luring to get a sit down and a stand, you can get that from a puppy, and you can get that from a dog very easily. Then you can get following. So if you want the dog to do figure eights and that sort of stuff, or come around and be on your left side in a heel position, that's a matter of them learning to follow a treat. Now, to get away from them being focused solely on the treat, and if you're doing the luring method, then you act like you're getting a fake treat. All right. So you've got the fake treat in your hand, and you lure the sit or the down or the stand or the follow you over here to your side, and then you get the treat actually from wherever you have it with your other hand, and then take it back to your hand where where you didn't have any treat, and then the dog figures out that what it's doing is following your hand, and its rewards will come to it. It doesn't have to worry about where you've got them stored.
Yeah, I can trust this person. I usually get a treat when I do something.
So that's right. It's a whole lot of trust and predictability.
Now, some people might say, when can I start training? I got a puppy that's 8 weeks or 6 weeks old.
Start training, you know, you can capture behaviors with a little 6-week-old puppy, 7, 8 weeks. You know, it's better to get them at 7 weeks, 8 weeks. You know, dogs that are, and this go to our next topic, which would be separation anxiety. Dogs that are separated too early, like 6 weeks and so forth.
Yeah.
It's just like, they're not ready to
Right.
really, and some of them, they're going to be actually panicky about being
It's a little jarring
away.
for the personality.
It is, and it's. I mean, this is only a 6-week-old baby, you
Right,
know.
exactly.
So they're going to be, that leaves a sense of insecurity that can flow into separation anxiety. Not always, but it's a risk factor. But anyway, so you've got luring, and then luring is actually when you're using a fake treat. What they're doing is they're targeting your fingers. They're going, okay, you know what? If I put my nose, you know, close to this person's fingers, then that works for some reason, if I track where their fingers are. So there, you can teach a touch cue, and that's targeting. So if you teach a dog, you hold out your fingers, and the dog touches them with its nose. You want to put your fingers close enough so the dog, it's easy for them to do. Then you say yes. You do that over here to the right, to the left, up, down, you know. And so then when they're doing that predictably, then you say touch, and then you present your fingers. They touch that, and at that point, then you can move the dog and position the dog's body by them tracking your fingers. It probably helps to distinguish between touch, which means just bring your nose up here and stop, and follow. So if you're having them follow your fingers, then you move your fingers away from the dog, and as they take a little motion and they're still in motion, they haven't yet reached your fingers, then you say yes. Okay? And then you increase how far they'll move. You know, maybe they moved that far to begin with, then they moved that far, then they moved that far. You don't always make it harder and harder, so then you go back to this far, and then you jump it up to that far, this far, then that far. And then when you're sure that they're following your fingers like that, then you can say follow, you know, follow, and they're moving around, and that way they can distinguish between, you know, they're going to get a reward if they're moving, even though haven't gotten to your fingers yet.
How would you use that skill?
You'd use it to teach, let's say, weaves under your legs, or have them follow your finger around your body to come to a heel position on your left, you know, or you know, it's also the start of a send out in agility. Like, you know, if you're starting the dog around, you know, you're sending them out to an obstacle, then they're following your fingers, and then if you wanted them to go around a cone or something like that, then you would have your finger go around, and then you could bring around behind your back. They just have to get used to the idea that there's something, if they just follow your signals, it's going to work out for them, and that they know how it goes. So you're targeting your hand, your fingers. They may be learning to target their body to a mat, and so forth. Another part is shaping, and this is where your dog's really at this point, the dog really has a high degree of confidence in you as a trainer, and you just start with something that they're doing, and you shape it by little approximations, little tiny steps into something else. So some dogs are taught to do, I mean, it has to be a very athletic dog, and their joints have to be mature enough, but you can shape them into doing handstands, or, you know, backing themselves up on a wall, or you know, maybe like a fake, you know, against the wall sort of thing, you know. So that's shaping, and at that point the dog knows that there's a game that they're playing, that it's like playing that warmer colder game, except there's no colder. So you just say warmer, you know, warmer, and then in that case you have to be really, really set in your mind about what behaviors you're looking for and how you're going to move them bit by bit. So shaping is a very high level skill. The other way that dogs learn things is they learn it from their companions. It's social learning. You know, they might see a person do something and they kind of get the idea of how does that door get unlatched, you know?
Yeah.
That's social learning, it's imitation learning. So the next time anyway, we will talk about separation anxiety, and I'll say just a word about putting a word to cues. It's like you get the behavior when you're sure of you're getting the behavior, then you put a word to it, and then you associate that word, and then the dog makes the connection. Be patient with them.
Okay, have fun with your dog, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.